Hi, I'm Etienne. I'm a postgraduate student here at Imperial College London, and I'm helping out at the Imperial College Robotics Society to just help people build different robots. Yeah, so I built this, which is a lock-picking robot. It uses a whole bunch of servo motors over here to push different pins up and get kind of different combinations of like pins and locks to unlock the lock.
So it's inspired by the sort of Sputnik lockpicking tool, right? Is there a particular reason you decided on that design for this?
Yeah, so there's a few different reasons. As you say, it's inspired by that, which is a 1991 patent, which is really cool. But it wasn't. It was just patented in 1991. Then ages later, someone else decided to make a manual one, and actually earlier this year, a YouTuber called Sparks and Code decided to make another lockpicking robot. However, his lockpicking robot used things like stepper motors, which means that it was quite slow. So I decided to try take that one step further, try improve it, make it a lot smaller, try make it a lot faster, and all that kind of stuff.
No, is that what you ended up going with? The Dynamics tool is nice and small, accurate, because you need relatively small motions for the tumblers, right? In there, that's what they're called.
Yeah, exactly. So I need like really, really, really high precision. So I started by using kind of one of the cheap servo motors that we had around the lab, and it did not work. It did not work at all. They say that they've got like 1 degree accuracy, but like, oh boy, do they not? But yeah, so ended up going for the dynamics full ones when a colleague of mine kind of recommended them to me, and they worked actually really really well. So I ended up ordering a few more to like complete it.
Yeah. Is there a particular something that inspired you to make this lockpicking robot? Was it just you saw this other video and decided, hey, this is something else that I can do? Or was there a particular problem you were looking to solve?
Well, yeah. So few things. Firstly, I love lockpicking and I love robots. So great combo of the two. And there's this one particular issue in I guess locks at the moment, which is TSA locks. So all the locks that you'll see on luggage, they all have this little red symbol on them. They're awful. Basically, there's 7 keys. Almost all of them use the TSA 007, which is a like really really common key. You can get it off Amazon for about $1 or two. And then if you've got that key, you can unlock everyone's luggage. And about I found 1 in 5 locks in like gym locker rooms, which is awful. Like that should not be possible, like at all. So I decided to kind of work on this as ideally a replacement for that, right? So you would be able to have instead of one key that unlocks tons of locks, like a set of 1,000 keys that unlocks it, which is just impractical to carry around and quickly open someone's luggage in an airport, right? So you'd have to use something like this, which yes, will break into the lock, but is going to take about 3 to 5 minutes and is a lot more suspicious than carrying around a key and just unlocking luggage. So, ironically, the lockpicking robot's designed to make things more secure.
I find that that kind of explains a lot of innovations in sort of lockpicking and lock sport, right? The
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing is,
definitely.
yeah, in order to make a puzzle harder to solve, you have to know how to solve it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that analogy for locks because really they're just puzzles. You have to try to figure out other ways of opening them than you know they're meant to.
Yeah, and sort of in the space of hobbies, one thing I've noticed when I was sort of looking into your background, it looks like you've done a lot of different things in a lot of different areas. And quite a lot of them are very interesting. Of note is something called a, I believe, Earth sandwich that you made a couple of years back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah. So basically, around actually just before the pandemic, I was a little bit bored just at home, and posted on Reddit asking if anyone else wants to make an earth sandwich. Basically, you put a slice of bread on one side of the globe, and you get someone else to put a slice of bread on the exact opposite side, and just effectively turn the whole world into a sandwich. Managed to find someone that was they were about half an hour drive from the exact opposite point of my house, and you have to find where the roads overlap and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we made it. Posted on Reddit. It went a bit viral. So the BBC and like a lot of American news networks picked it up. So I think there was 250 roughly news networks that um, reported on it. To be honest, a lot of my projects I I do not for some big meaning, but just because I don't know, it sounds like fun, you know. So I end up doing just a whole bunch of small projects to keep me entertained. Really, as like some for university, some for work, some just as a hobby. Um, but I just kind of I don't know, go with the flow and see what's interesting at that particular moment.
Do you have any that you'd any favorites? I suppose you want to share with us.
Any favorites? Ooh, I've done a lot of different projects. There's there's been a few. So kind of in robotics, love the lockpicking robot. Also made some classics like a automatic watering thing. Made a actually. Yeah, one of my favorites is I used to be at the University of Auckland helping out at a different student society called the Maker Club. Basically, everyone there just wants to make stuff, right? From small zines to robots to crocheted things, etc., etc. Luckily, we were donated a old broken vending machine. Didn't work like at all. So we dismantled it, stripped out all the parts, and put our own electronics in it, like ESP32 and all that kind of stuff to make it like Wi-Fi connected, and built like a web interface. And took the like really old vending machine and made it now nice, smart new vending machine that had a web interface and like digital catalog and all this kind of stuff, which means that all of our members would be able to put in their own projects for like that they could sell, and they get all the profits, right? Because I mean, we just wanted to get people to make stuff. It meant that a lot of people were able to kind of test their startup ideas or just test the waters to see if people actually would like to purchase, for example, some earrings that they made. And we ended up making, well, I mean, our members ended up making quite a lot of money in the first about month or so. We didn't take any cut. We only took like 1% or 2% to pay the processing fees that we had to pay. But yeah, it was really really cool. Although it wasn't the most difficult project, a friend of mine and I did it over a weekend as a hackathon project. But it was fun and had I think a relatively large impact.
Yeah, it does sound like it. I wouldn't have even thought about the fact that, for a lot of makers and stuff like that, having somewhere where you can go and say, I need to put my, these things that I'm making, put them on display for people to check out, and if they like them, take them home. That bridges a big gap where makers are. All of these people who put these things together, like you, myself, I make some things here and there in the course of my job here at Robotis, but sometimes it's hard to share what you've created with people, and giving people a channel for that is amazing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
at the
yeah.
beginning of the call, you mentioned you're working with another sort of makerspace society sort of thing. I'm not sure what the best technical term for it would be, but did you want to talk a little bit about their mission and what you guys are working on right now?
Yeah, I'm actually in the lab at the moment. It's like 10 p.m. But my Wi-Fi is still being set up, so I'm at the lab instead. Basically, yeah, Imperial College Robotics Society based at Imperial College. And we've got a few different things that we do. So we teach kind of the students at Imperial how to do some robotics and help with a few people's personal projects. So, for example, like the lockpicking robot was really great because I was able to speak to the other students here and get some advice on how to do specific things, right? So my background is computer science, and currently I'm doing a design engineering degree. So I'm by absolutely no means an expert in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, which is why I decided to do this project to learn. Um, and yeah, so I was able to learn from a few of the other students here. And they'd give me advice on how to make the linear actuators a bit more robust or a bit more consistent, all that kind of stuff. We also do outreach, so we run a few programs with high school students and all that kind of stuff. So then, if they want to get into robotics later on, they've got really good stepping stones and kind of know what resources available to them. We also go to a few competitions. So we've just had a rover, which I think isn't actually back yet, but it's just been in the like European rover competition in Poland, and is being shipped back at the moment. So yeah, we go to a few national and a few international competitions, and yeah, we also run tons of events. So hopefully, we'll be running about one and a half events a week from for this next term, just to get people making stuff, just a whole variety of things.
And for those of you watching at home, links to the most recent events will be in the video description for this. So make sure to check that out if you're interested. So it does sound like you have quite a lot of experience working directly with makers, uh, basically helping them bring their dreams to life. Do you have any like sort of popular pieces of advice that you'd like to share?
Ooh, popular pieces of advice. Yeah, okay. So my previous job was I was makerspace coordinator, so I helped run a makerspace for quite a while before going back into studying. Um, and one of the things that I found is people will have really interesting ideas, but they'll be like, "Oh no, this isn't going to change the world," or "Oh no, this idea, it's not good." Just make it. Like, sure, your idea is not going to change the world, but almost no idea does, right? Like, if you have 1,000 ideas, you'll be lucky if one of them does. So don't make that the thing that's going to stop you. Just start making stuff. Actually, one of the like biggest things I find is that. So one of our next events coming up is called the Terrible Ideas Hackathon, where it's a 48-hour challenge just to make the worst things you can. Like, just awful. Like, it doesn't matter if it solves any problem. If it does, that's probably even worse. Just make something. Doesn't matter if it's good, because yeah, sure, there might be people who've been making for 20 years. If this is the start of your journey, that's fine. So just trying to get people making, not making the best things, just making in general.
That's a very important piece of advice, especially for people just getting started, like you were saying. It sounds like you might have some interesting cases of problems that maybe didn't need to be solved.
Yeah, we had some of the previous things that have been made in the Terrible Ideas Hackathon. So we started off running it in New Zealand, then spread to Australia, and now the UK. So it's becoming more global. But we've had some awful things. We've had, let's see, a robot that like ultra realistic human that like its eyes just follow you around the room, really creepy. We had a like automatic drink dispenser, but it's crowdsourced, so everyone votes on what drinks they want to put in your drink, like what, yeah, fluids they want. So you'll have milk with some Tabasco sauce and some apple juice, and ends up awful every time. We had funeral pinatas. We had someone who duct taped a tattoo gun to a 3D printer to make an automatic tattoo machine, which did tattoo some pork, but like it's awful. No one's been brave enough to dare to do it themselves yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the first volunteer either. And I'm sure throughout the process of all of these getting done, as well as your own projects, you've probably had some pretty interesting complications arise. Do you have any specific stories about maybe an interesting challenge or something like that that you personally faced?
Yeah. Well, I guess every project has its specific complications, right? And every project tends to have kind of one thing that is just painful to solve. And yeah, you can spend so long just trying to figure it out. For example, the lockpicking robot. I spent so long trying to work on um, like MG whatever, the really cheap servo motors, and they were really not working. And I spent so long trying to dial in all the settings and dial everything in, until yeah, someone recommended these, and like just instantly after like redesigning, the fitting for them to just slot on, everything worked. It took so long of just bashing my head against the wall, metaphorically, for it to for me to like find the solution. And really, it was just someone else suggesting it, and I would not have thought of it at all. So I don't know, just talk to other people, and they'll solve your problems for you.
I guess the answer is sometimes it's okay to ask for help.
I think like especially working at a makerspace, or like community of people who have very different backgrounds, mean that you might be an expert in one field, but you're not an expert in everything, right? But someone else is an expert in whatever your kind of Achilles heel is. So if you just talk to them, you help them with their projects, they help with you with your projects, and both of you end up with way better projects than you would have started with. And you take that and scale it from two people to an entire community, like an entire makerspace, 20, 30 people, and it's just like incomprehensible how much better your projects get.
You have a similar background to me as well, coming from computer science and sort of picking up mechanical design as you go on. And like you said, knowing who to ask, knowing when it's time to go to the expert and say, you're a lot better at this than I am, that's the real difference between a decent project and amazing one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like yeah.
So while we're on the subject of amazing projects, do you think you'll be able to give us a demo of the lockpicking robot?
I just need to kind of plug it in. Basically, I've got it programmed at the moment to do. Basically, it's a demo mode. So instead of it actually picking the lock, it's trying to do relatively large movements, so you can actually see the pins move. Because otherwise, they're so small that you can't really. But over there, you can see each of the pins is being lifted up, as each of these servo motors, which you might be able to see here, are pushing in and out. Right. So there's 0.7 millimeter copper wire that's being fed through all these tubes to actually lift these up.
Oh wow, that's quite cool.
But yeah, um, at the moment, the lockpicking robot is working by pressing each pin and trying all the different combinations. So it's a brute force technique, which takes a long time. It's got the benefit of there's a few security designs that you can have in locks, like things called security pins, like spools and serrated pins, which makes it very difficult to get kind of feedback, especially like through the like little feedback you get in your fingers, right? So the current technique is trying to bypass that entirely, and it's just trying different combos until it works. However, it's not really the best technique. If you were to try a few kind of more common tactics first before going into like a brute force technique, I think you'd probably be able to break 70% of different locks. So I'm wanting to do a code upgrade in the future at some point if I get around to it. Very big if. So if someone at home is wanting to do some work, this is open source on GitHub, and go work on it, please. Link in the video description. Yeah. So yeah, at some point I want to make those upgrades using kind of current feedback to see if if different pins are set and stuff like that, but haven't gone around to it yet.
Oh, that sounds like you do have a little bit of a roadmap laid out for this. Are there any other projects that you have sort of on your loose horizon that you want to tease the public with?
Ooh, yeah. There's a few different ones. I've just published a paper actually last week, which is a new technique in 3D printing. So if you're wanting ultra smooth 3D prints, made something which can make the like top surface of 3D prints about 10 times smoother with like no extra hardware. So just
Is
through code.
ironing or?
Yeah, yeah. So it's non-planar ironing. So
Ooh,
yeah. It's basically normally when you 3D print, you have these like really jagged steps, especially if you have like very shallow angles. The issue with that is if you're trying to get that to slide over something or be used, for example, in a propeller or a wing, it's awful for aerodynamics. If you're trying to use it for something like food, it's awful to clean, so stuff gets stuck in there. Yeah, bad for friction, etc. It just looks ugly. So there's a technique invented by Daniel Anales. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. 2019, where he 3D printed layer, and then an angled layer. That made things way smoother. I'm using that combined with another technique called ironing, which you mentioned. Basically, it uses the heated nozzle to go over the material again to remelt everything together. And combining those two techniques, surprisingly, the shape of the nozzle doesn't actually matter too much when going at these like very shallow angles. Actually, it works up until I think about 15-20 degrees when like the part gets hit off by I guess the rest of the extruder and makes it roughly 10 times smoother. Other than that, I'm always working on other projects. I'm working on a Marx generator. Basically, it takes in 10,000 volts and multiplies that up to about like 300,000 volts just to make big sparks. Sparks are cool.
yeah. That's as good a reason to build a robot as I've ever heard. But yeah, it was really great talking with you today, Etienne. Really interesting. You've done a lot of cool stuff, and I would hopefully love to do some more cool stuff with you in the future. Uh, would you like to tell the public where they can get in contact with you or any other links you'd like to share?
Yeah, sure thing. Great talking to you too, Jonathan. So my website is etinaude.dev, You can get in contact with me there, or if you want to see any of the other things I'm involved with, the Robotics Society or anything else, hit me up there. And yeah, the link should be in the description as well, right?
All right.
See ya.